What up, y'all? Let's get into some Diddy updates. Let's go. Hey, make sure you subscribe to my page. I'm trying to grow over here. But yo, let's take a look at a lot of the latest legal drama in the Diddy case. In this video, we're going to talk about why some of the victims may want to remain anonymous, Diddy's defense of consent, and will it still hold up? We'll talk about the third superseding indictment. I also may have found the website that Diddy was using to get the workers to come and have a good time with. Also, Diddy's team wants Dr. Don M. Hughes left completely out of the trial. We're also going to talk about why Diddy issued a subpoena to Warner Brothers. And finally, is Mark Garagos stepping in to take place in this trial? Let's get into it. All right, so the government wants to protect 3 victims involved in this case. Victim 1, a lot of us that's been covering this trial since the beginning has always suspected that victim 1 is Cassie. We have no idea who victim 2, 3, and 4 is. Cassie told the feds, I'm prepared to testify. Y'all ain't got to hide my name. Y'all ain't got to call me Jane Doe. I'm coming to stand on business. My name is Cassie Ventura, mother of all dragons, okay? Cassie said, I will proudly use my name, okay? The other victims are like, nope, I don't want my name to be known. I want to be anonymous. The feds are saying, listen, Judge, we need victims 2, 3, and 4. We need them to just be addressed by Jane Doe. Their real names shouldn't be used. And it's because this case has been plagued by the media. And if the media finds out who these victims are, they may be embarrassed. They may face public scrutiny. They may not be able to maintain careers. So can we please keep the victims private in this trial? The feds are saying count 1 in particular, which is the racketeering count. Diddy trafficked victims 1 through 3 through force, fraud, and coercion. They're saying Diddy made all these women participate in these free calls for hours, for days, pure exhaustion. They had to use IV fluid to get their life back together. So not only were they forced to do these things, there's also an element of forced labor involved as well. Now, the forced labor is interesting. Cassie did say in her original lawsuit, when she would try to run away and escape Diddy, he would have his team call her and say, hey, you got to come back and finish the album or you're in trouble. If you don't come back and finish all these deals we set up, you're in trouble. So I don't know if the government is trying to say that that is the forced labor we shall see during the trial, or I don't know if the government is trying to say some of his employees were involved with forced labor. Like maybe he forced his employees to do things they didn't want to do. The government is also saying these victims 1 through 4 will have to testify about some deep, traumatic, dark, humiliating things, and they want to protect these women. They also want anything pertaining to these women to be sealed from the public. So when people like me and journalists are looking through these documents, we won't get to see all the exhibits. Now, I think the judge is going to say, hey, let these women stay private because they did it in the R. Kelly case. They did it in the Epstein case, the Raniere case. They let some of those alleged victims stay unknown or Jane Doe's. Problem is, this trial is open to the public. So unless they're going to have these women wearing ski masks, we're going to find out who they are. A lot of us in the hip hop and blog community, we know who Diddy's ex-girlfriends are. Some of these women have spoke about his violent nature before Cassie even came out. So as soon as this trial starts, somebody is going to leak who these women are. Diddy's lawyers, on the other hand, are saying, listen, all these women are his ex-girlfriends. They're women who he's been in relationships with. This isn't trafficking. These are all his partners who did some kinky stuff. He took care of them. He flew them around the world. Now that the relationship has gone sour, now they're saying they're victims. This is going to be Diddy's defense. You guys knew what you signed up for. You could have left anytime you wanted to. Problem is, I suspect that the government is going to bury him in testimony of the victim saying, I tried to leave. Witnesses saying, we saw them try to leave. He would drag them back. You're going to have his inner circle testify and say, yes, when Cassie tried to leave, he would send me to go get her and bring her back. So my analysis is it's going to be tough for him to beat the trafficking and the flying the mail escorts across state lines. I think he has a slight chance of beating the RICO charge, which is count 1. Those others are going to be tough because they're just going to bury him and overwhelm the jury with testimony of women crying on the stand saying how they tried to leave and he would not let them go. Next up, so the prosecutors in the Diddy case has tacked on some new charges. We have the third superseding indictment. So at first, when this case started, people are like, hey, so Cassie is the only victim? This is what this case is about? It's all about Cassie? Within the past 4 months, the feds was like, we actually have 4 victims. Now, the good thing about this for Diddy and his defense is he's going to say, listen, all 4 of these women are my ex-girlfriends. I wasn't trafficking them. Yeah, we did some kinky stuff. Yeah, I took them on trips all around the globe, but they wanted to do this stuff. So the new indictment adds an additional charge of trafficking and an additional charge of transportation to engage in prostitution, which puts him at risk of a lot more prison time if convicted. They've also added new language into count 1, which is the racketeering charge, saying Diddy and his organization kidnapped, dangled a woman off of a balcony, brandished a weapon to a female victim. That's just some of the new stuff they added. The old charges include arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, forced labor, and how he used his team to help him carry out some of these crimes. The racketeering charge is so interesting to me because it really depends on what the jury instructions are, because if the feds are trying to say Diddy created bad boy entertainment so he can have freak offs and traffic people, he might be the charge. Because I don't think Diddy created bad boy specifically to be a criminal or to commit crimes. Now, bad boy did morph into this label where allegedly there was a lot of death, crime, fraud, abuse, people just doing wrong things. So if the feds paint this enterprise as Diddy used his power and influence to cause harm to these women and he got away with it with the help of his bodyguards, assistants, yeah, they're gonna get him. They're going to get him that way. But if they're painting it and using terminology like he created bad boy to specifically do these things, he might bait it. Because I don't think that's why he created bad boy. Now, the other two charges, he's cooked. He's cooked on trafficking and he's cooked on flying those men across state lines to do the freak-offs. Now, if some of these men workers get up there and say, hey, he didn't fly me across state lines for freak-offs. He flew me out because he was having a party. I was just coming to hang out. And yeah, we did do some kiki things, but that's not what he flew me out for. He flew me out just to come party. Then, hey, Diddy might can win the transportation count, all right? Because right now he has a count of transportation of prostitutions. If these men get on the stand and say, hey, I'm not a prostitute, I just came to hang out, hey, it's going to be their word against Cassie's. Now, I may have found the website Diddy was using to get the male freak-off workers, and their Twitter handle is Cowboys for Angels. Yep, that's them. This is why I think this may be one of the sites he's used, because in a previous filing, Diddy's legal team was like, yo, Diddy did have some companions that he flew out, but he was using a well-known escort site on Twitter that's completely legal. They were featured on this TV show on Showtime. And look, y'all, it's not really hard to put these things together. Showtime has a TV show called Gigolos, and it's based off of the company Cowboys for Angels. Now, this site that's advertising is like, yo, we straight and we only hook up with women. Okay, let's pull them up and let's see which one of these men you think Diddy had Cassie calling to do the freak offs. Kieran, he looked like Diddy type. Looked like Farnsworth Bentley down there. Reggie, does Reggie look like their type? Mason, okay. Let's go to the Atlanta ones. Where the Atlanta boys at? It's only two in Atlanta? Dominic and Caesar? I don't know about Atlanta. Let's go back up to the top. Let's see who's in South Florida. Chris, okay. Chris got some cute eyes. Juan look like Diddy look like he'll like Juan. Yeah. Juan and Chris look like Diddy flavor right there. This the site, y'all. This is where they was getting the freak off workers from. Yeah. Y'all think these men gonna be testifying? Reggie, Kieran, Cristiano, Mason. Yeah. That's the site, y'all. Them the folks. Question now is, are these young men going to testify and say, hey, when I got there, everybody seemed ready to get down? Or are some of them going to testify and say, hey, Cassie seemed a little drunk. She seemed a little high. We saw her trying to leave and he made her come back. These male workers are going to be pivotal for this case. These male workers are going to make or break this case. Some might get up there and say, hey, I'm Team Diddy. She was down for all this. Then you might have some of them say, hey, she seemed a little scared to me. I don't know. And the feds know some of these men are probably going to take Diddy's side. And this is why they want to bring in a doctor to analyze this situation. They want to bring in either a therapist or a psychologist to say, hey, just because she looked like she was having a good time doesn't mean she was having a good time. She could have been scared. She could have been scared that if she doesn't perform properly, he may get angry. And Cassie's former friend most likely is going to testify that her and Cassie was hanging out one night and she saw Diddy burst into the apartment and forcefully drag Cassie out to go to a freak off. So you're going to have the friend say, look, hey, he's done been violent with her. So yeah, she might look like she having a good time on the tape, but she might really be scared. Yo, I wish this case was televised. This is really going to be a ping pong match of who do you believe? Who's telling the truth? Which side is telling the best story? All right, so the feds in the Diddy case want to bring in Dr. Don Hughes, an expert in clinical and forensic psychology specializing in abuse and interpersonal violence. So the main goal for Dr. Hughes is the feds want to have her get on the stand and give her expert opinion on these women who are allegedly ex-girlfriends of Diddy. Because once again, Diddy's defense is going to be, these are all my ex-girlfriends, scorned lovers. They were all down with the kiki stuff that we doing. And now that we broken up, they're crying and saying they're victims. They all consented to this. They all agreed to everything that we done. That is Diddy's defense. So Dr. Hughes' job is to discuss topics around abuse in relationships, coercive control, coping strategies, delayed disclosure, and memory issues. Once again, Diddy's defense is going to be, hey, these were all my girlfriends. We were all consenting adults. These women could have left anytime they wanted. She's going to get up there and explain to the jury how people in abusive relationship can take years to leave due to trauma bonds because they may be frightened because their partner is dangerous are powerful. One of the main accusations from the Fed is Diddy used force and coercion to keep these women and his employees close and made them comply with his demands. Coercion can be forceful, like, hey, you better get over here and do this or else. Or it can be subtle, like, hey, we taking shots. Come take a shot. Come smoke a little weed. Come on, let's go in the bedroom. Come lay down to me. The whole time in your mind, you want to say no or scream or yell or run, but you don't because he's the boss or he's violent or he may hurt you. So her job is to paint these broad strokes on how and why some of these women stayed and dealt with Diddy as well as some of his employees. Diddy's team want her nowhere near the court. They're saying, listen, this woman has not treated any of these victims, so she doesn't have enough knowledge of the case to feed information to the jury about why some of these women or employees stayed around Diddy. They fear if she gets on the stand and just starts talking, the information she may give out would pretty much paint Diddy in a bad light. Diddy's team is also saying, listen, most of what she gonna say on the stand is common sense, so she really don't need to be here anyway. They said, look, she's biased and her opinions are completely skewed. Now, she just isn't some rinky-dink doc they found out in the middle of nowhere. She has credentials. She testified in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. She's also testified in other trials surrounding victims. But Diddy's legal team is like, no, judge, don't let her testify. They also plan on bringing in their own rebuttal witness/doctor to supplement their argument. So their doctor would get up there and say, look, everything she's saying is an opinion. It's generalized. She hasn't specifically diagnosed any of these victims. So take her word at a low level. Now, we just have to wait and see what the judge says. It's totally up to the judge if he's going to allow her to testify or not. Now, Diddy has issued a subpoena to Warner Brothers. Now, for all of y'all that don't know, Warner Brothers created a 4-part documentary about Diddy called The Fall of Diddy. Probably one of the best docs out right now about Sean Combs. It's not overly focused on the freaky deaky side. Their documentary really broke into the breakdown of his anger and violence, and a lot of people who's interviewed on this documentary has been victims of his violence or they've witnessed it. So they essentially want Warner Brothers to give them all the outtakes and uncut interviews of one of his ex-girlfriends and his former chef. So this tells me, and this is all my speculation, that this chef may be testifying against him, and Kat Passion, one of his ex-girlfriends, is either testifying against him or she's one of the victims. Because right now he has victim 1, which is Cassie, and 3 other unnamed women who his team says are all ex-girlfriends. Diddy's legal team is requesting detailed information about these 2 women from the documentary. Tells me that they may be vital to this case. Diddy was extremely violent with his chef, and she knew of the violence that Cassie experienced as well. His ex-girlfriend, Kat Passion, pretty much gave some disturbing details about how he violated her. Warner Brothers wants this whole request thrown out. They don't want to give Diddy and his legal team any extra additional information about these 2 women. They said, hey, watch the documentary. We're not giving you anything from behind the scenes. We're not telling you any additional information because we have a right as a journalist. We don't have to give you our background stuff. So they're pretty much writing the judge and saying, hey, tell Diddy to leave us alone. We're not giving him anything else unless you, the judge, compel us to do it. It's not our responsibility to help him win. So we'll see what the judge has to say about this. Maybe he'll force Warner Brothers to give Diddy what they request, or he may tell Diddy, look, them folks ain't got to give you nothing from their behind the scenes. Now, this is some unofficial news about Sean Combs. Right now, it's being rumored that Diddy may have a whole new attorney take over this case, Mark Geragos. Now, Mark Geragos has represented Michael Jackson, Colin Kaepernick, Chris Brown, Scottie Pippen, a lot of celebrities. Mark's daughter is also already on Diddy's legal team, and right now, Mark Agnifilio has been the lead attorney. It's now being rumored that Mark Geragos may be taking over the team. For the past 6 months or so, Mark Geragos has been doing these interviews, and he's been very pro-Diddy, leaning very heavy on Diddy's side. He's been adamant that he thinks this case is weak. So I was like, yo, maybe he's doing all these interviews because he just wants to support his daughter, because his daughter is working on the case. But has this whole time this man been trying to get hired by Diddy? Or did his daughter run home and say, Daddy, we need some help? Mark Agnifilio don't know what he's doing. Now, all of this is funny because a month or so ago, Anthony Rico quit the case. He was a part of Diddy's legal team, and it's rumored he quit because he wanted to talk to Diddy directly, but Mark Agnifilio was preventing him from speaking with Diddy. It's rumored that Anthony Rico allegedly felt like they needed more time to prepare for this case, but Mark Agnifilio was like, nah, we got this, full steam ahead. Anthony was like, yo, I quit because this case is a mountain. So I find it strange that Mark Agnifilio did not want Anthony Rico speaking with Diddy, but you're about to let Mark Geragos check in the 4th quarter and take over the head coaching position. This is crazy. The trial literally starts next month. Diddy's lawyers is already saying they want to get all of this stuff thrown out because it's too much information to sort through. They're saying like, yo, the government keeps surprising us with all these new new victims and charges. So it already sounds like Diddy's team is overwhelmed. But us, we all knew it. We was like, yo, this case is gonna be loaded. Us covering the case, we all kept saying like, yo, y'all not gonna be ready by May. The feds are just gonna bury y'all with discovery and information, and you're gonna need 10 lawyers working this case instead of the 4 or 5 that you already got. So by the time I publish this video, either Mark Garagos is gonna be on his team, or hey, we'll find out that it's just a rumor. But yo, if you made it to the end of this video, I truly appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Do y'all think Diddy is gonna get up out of this pickle? Leave your comments below. Peace.